Some people today look at the past conceptions of manhood, see flaws such as violence and aggression, and cry out for a need to replace it altogether. While aspects of manhood should be updated to meet the realities of the times, our stories teach us that many of the traditional ideals of manhood haven't gotten old or less useful. Many men and a surprising amount of women loved the movie Gladiator. They love it because it tells a compelling story about the kind of man men want to be, and women want to be with, the ideal man. Gladiator is about how the ideal man acts and grounds himself in a chaotic and complex world. The name of the ideal man in Gladiator is Maximus. That's a fitting name, because he's man at the maximum. He's not just one of the classical archetypes of manhood, such as the king, the warrior, the magician, or the lover. He is a very satisfying combination of all the manly archetypes. In the opening act of the movie, we're presented with what happens to a man who lives life properly. We find Maximus on the tide of a great battle, and even more impressive than the ordered and capable army he commands is the moving way in which his men respect him. It's clear he has won his position through his competence. He's not just a technician expert that gives orders on the sidelines. Maximus plays the game at the highest level and rides at the head of his men into the arena. Maximus is the epitome of a gentleman. You cannot be a gentleman without being a man first, someone who can rip off heads in power and fury. But a gentleman then restrains that power to gentleness in order to respect his elders, women, children, and society. What Maximus touches turns to gold. The battle is won, and Maximus is the great man.
They honor you, Caesar.
It's for you, Maximus. They honor you.
And the more we look, the more we find he's the great man because the way he lives is great. He doesn't want to be on the battlefield shedding blood.
Back to barracks, General? Or to Rome? Home. The wife, the son, the harvest.
Yet he is on the battlefield because he believes in higher ideals, and he lives a life of sacrifice to those ideals. He sacrifices to the political ideal, even in a world where the political ideal has become corrupted in reality.
I've seen much of the rest of the world. It is brutal and cruel and dark. Rome is the light.
Yet you have never been there. You have not seen what it has become.
He sacrifices to the ideal of the home and the family. He sacrifices to the transcendent, the higher, and yet uncomprehended forces at play in the world that he has the humility to honor.
Whisper to them I live only to hold them again. Ancestors, I honor you. And will try to live with the dignity you have taught me.
What he does in service and duty to these ideals, and he lets everything else fall as it may. He is not interested in manipulating the world to his preferred outcome. He sacrifices the present to what is right, and lets the future consequences follow, with the faith that the future will be the best it can possibly be if he partners with, and sacrifices to, life in this way. And onto this type of man spills the favor of existence. Men want to be this kind of man. Women want to be with this kind of man. When the emperor needs a successor who will turn a corrupted state back to its ideal,
What would you have me do,
he
Caesar?
turns to Maximus.
I want you to become the protector of Rome after I die. I will empower you to one end alone, to give power back to the people of Rome and end the corruption that has crippled it. Won't you accept this great honor that I have offered you?
With all my heart, no.
Maximus, that is why it must be you.
Gladiator is a fictional story, but its character Maximus is a true character, because he's an amalgamation of the ideal manly characteristics that have proved themselves valuable in the crucible of history. But not everyone strives to uphold the ideal. In the next episode, we'll continue our analysis of Gladiator, by looking at the story through the lens of the biblical story of the hostile brothers, Cain and Abel.